Let's get into Vrabel and Wolf. And let's start where all of you want to start, judging by the super chats. Everybody wants to talk about who's got the hammer, who's dropping the hammer, what is the power structure. And Vrabel and Wolf both had a lot to say the past 24 hours. They both had a lot to say. Let's start with Vrabel. When he was asked about final say on the roster, he said, quote, well, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't have wanted to be the head coach here if I wasn't comfortable in my impact on the roster. So we want to continue to have great conversations with the personnel staff, with me, with Stretch, with coaching. Wolf today, when asked about the final say, and this was like the third or fourth question he faced about the final say and the power structure. And I think it was Phil Perry who really did a great job of trying to get Eliot to say who had final say, and it worked. Because Eliot Wolf said, quote, ultimately, it's my final say. Again, Mike wouldn't have taken his job if he weren't comfortable with each other. Not going to be Eliot guys. There's not going to be Eliot guys. There's not going to be Mike guys, okay? Earlier in the press conference, Wolf said that listening to Coach Vrabel, there's not a lot of GMs or people in my position that are going to force players on the coaching staff. Certainly the best decisions are made together. Okay, everybody take a deep breath, because I know the initial reaction is, oh my God, Eliot Wolf said he has final say on this roster. This is going to suck. He sucked last year. This is all terrible, et cetera, et cetera. Let me translate. This is my opinion. Let me translate to you what Vrabel and Wolf actually said and why they might have said it. Let's start here. Eliot Wolf said today, I'm not going to force players on Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel has to okay everything. Eliot Wolf is not going to make a unilateral decision. He's not going to make a decision with full autonomy. He's not going to go over the top of Mike Vrabel and pick a player that Vrabel does not want. Wolf said it himself. I'm not going to force a player on Mike Vrabel. So Mike Vrabel inevitably has the final word. Because if Eliot Wolf is not going to force anybody on Mike Vrabel, that means if Mike Vrabel doesn't like somebody, Eliot Wolf might love the guy, and Vrabel will say, I don't want him. I don't think he's going to work here. And as soon as Vrabel says that, the conversation is over. I've said this from day one. Eliot Wolf is not going to force anything upon Mike Vrabel and Ryan Cowden. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Eliot Wolf understands that he's not going to usurp the head coach in what the head coach wants. Mike Vrabel has defined who he wants as a football player at each position on the field. Eliot Wolf takes that definition along with the scouting staff, and they do their homework and they watch the film, and then Mike Vrabel will be told who fits his criteria. And from that point moving forward, Vrabel inevitably has the hammer, because Wolf is not going to do anything on his own. He's not going to tell Mike Vrabel, sorry, Mike, you don't like that player. I love him. We're drafting him. It's not going to work. Vrabel has to give him the thumbs up. Vrabel has more power than Gerard Mayo ever had, because Vrabel had all of the leverage. We've been through this before. Vrabel had all the leverage when he spoke to the Patriots. He didn't have to come here. Vrabel said it himself yesterday. He would not have signed a contract with the Patriots if he was not comfortable in his role within the personnel. He's not going to take a gig just to take a gig. So take a deep breath. Understand that Mike Vrabel had all of the leverage. Understand that Eliot Wolf still admitted multiple times today that he's not going to override Mike Vrabel. He's not going to choose somebody that Mike Vrabel doesn't want. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. Mike Vrabel was not going to sign with the Patriots unless this opportunity was perfect for him. Mike Vrabel is going to have the say in personnel because he is the coach. He defines the philosophy. He defines the program. He defines the profile of each player that he wants on this football team. And he is the alpha in the room. Eliot Wolf is not going to kick Mike Vrabel's feet off the desk and say, we're drafting this dude with the 4th pick, and now you have to deal with it, coach. It's just not going to happen, folks. It's not going to happen. In no reality would that happen. So people will say, well, Nick, why did Wolf say that he ultimately has final say? And why was Mike Vrabel so vague? I've heard people ask this question. I've seen it on TV. I'm sure they've been talking about it on the radio. I don't listen to radio often, quite frankly. I'm sure they've been talking about it on the radio. I know they've been talking about it on NBC Sports Boston. Why was Vrabel vague yesterday? Why did Vrabel not say he had final say? Why does Eliot Wolf say he ultimately has final say? Why? What's going on here? I've said this from the beginning of the offseason, and I will remind all of you to a very important detail. Eliot Wolf is listed. Eliot Wolf is listed as the final say for the Patriots. That is very important. When we went through all of the Mayo stuff last year, and we went through who was going to have the final say on personnel, right? There goes Belichick. Who's going to be the guy? It was Belichick before, obviously, for 20-plus years. Who's going to have the final say? Because you have to let the NFL know who is going to have the final say. There's a term for it. I don't remember the term, but there's an executive that you have to anoint as the guy. Right now with the NFL, Eliot Wolf is known as that guy. Eliot Wolf is known as the final say in New England, okay? That was made last year. That happened last year. Wolf became the guy. If you want to have somebody have the final say over the top of Eliot Wolf, you have to let the NFL know that, and you have to file that pretty much with the league. Now, once you file that with the league, you have to open up the process. So for the Patriots, if they wanted to put Mike Vrabel over the top of Eliot Wolf or Ryan Cowden over the top of Eliot Wolf, they would have to go through a process. They would have to talk to other GM candidates. They would have to bring people from the outside. They would have to satisfy the Rooney Rule. By having Eliot Wolf in that same position and having Eliot Wolf come out and say publicly, I have the final say, the Patriots don't have to go through all of that red tape. And what have we learned from the Patriots over the past couple of years? Whether you like it or I like it, it doesn't matter. The Patriots do not enjoy a thorough process. I've had an issue with it. I had an issue with it with the Mayo stuff. I even had an issue with it this year and said they should have talked to a few more people. Vrabel was ultimately the guy and should have been the guy, but I wanted a little bit more of a thorough process in that week. I thought they could have talked to a couple of more candidates. But the Crafts, the Patriots, they don't want to get bogged down by the process. So the most efficient, easiest way to deal with this was to keep Wolf on the paperwork, have Wolf be the face of the final say, bring Mike Vrabel in as the head coach with an understanding between Vrabel and Wolf who would have the power, and then Vrabel brings his guy in, Ryan Cowden, within like the first 24 hours he's here. Nothing that's been said over the past 24 plus hours changes my mind as to how this organization is going to be run. Mike Vrabel has to okay everything. He's got to have the okay on any player that's brought in or by draft or free agency or trade or whatever. Vrabel is going to be the guy that decides it. Ryan Cowden was brought in to be his right-hand man. And there's no way on God's green earth, no matter who says what they say, there's no way on God's green earth that Eliot Wolf is going to overrule Mike Vrabel and Ryan Cowden. It is not going to happen. This is all a shell game, folks. That's what I think. This is all a shell game. This is to keep Wolf's name as the executive within the NFL, representing the Patriots, Meanwhile, opening the door for Vrabel to come in with Cowden, ultimately really have say in that room without having to go through the process, without having to go through a dog and pony show, which is how I'm sure the Crafts look at it. That's what I think is going on. That's what I believe. Some of you might disagree. Some of you might say, well, there's no way. It's not happening. Eliot Wolf has to say. You can believe Eliot Wolf. I'm just telling you. What I think is going on is this is all optics. The Patriots don't want to go through a hiring process in the front office. They went through some of that last year. They don't want to do it again. They have the people where they want the people. They've got Vrabel. They've got Cowden. They've got Wolf. They've got Alonzo Highsmith. They've got Cam Williams. They don't want to open this thing up. They wanted to move quickly because last year they were bogged down by the coaching staff, and it took forever to get the coaching staff together, and that didn't allow Wolf to go to the Senior Bowl and do other things. So I think, as Mr. Snoopy says, it's just smoke and mirrors. That's what I think. That's my opinion. And I think they told you that if you read the tea leaves. When Wolf said that he's not going to overrule Vrabel, that tells us that, right? There's not a lot of GMs or people in my position that are going to force players on the coaching staff. Said Mike wouldn't take this job if we weren't comfortable with each other. So that's what I think is happening. That's how I feel about it.